Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to leave everything behind? Your home, your neighbors, the streets you have walked your entire life, the faces you have known since childhood. To load everything you own onto a wooden wagon, hitch 2 oxen to the front, and point yourself west. Not toward a city, not toward a road you know, but toward open land, unmapped land, land that exists on your map as nothing more than a blank space with the words Oregon Territory written across it in faint, hopeful letters. This is what thousands of Americans did in the 1840s and 1850s. They left, they pointed themselves west, and they walked. Tonight you are one of them. It is June of 1852. You set out from Missouri 6 weeks ago. With you are your wife, your 2 young children, and your aging father, who insisted on coming, and whom you could not bear to leave behind. Ahead of you, approximately 2,000 miles of trail. Mountains, rivers, deserts, plains. 4 to 5 months of walking if everything goes well. If the oxen hold. If the weather holds. If everyone stays healthy. You are trying not to think about the ifs. You are on day 40 of the journey. Kansas is behind you now. You are somewhere in the middle of the Nebraska plains, and the land around you is so flat, so vast, so utterly without end, that sometimes you feel less like a traveler and more like a small moving point on an enormous, indifferent map. Find a comfortable position. You may close your eyes. This is a sleep documentary. It is not a problem if you fall asleep while listening. On the contrary, that is exactly the purpose of this narration. Now, let us step together onto that dusty trail, into that wide, golden, fading afternoon, into a world that no longer exists but that shaped everything that came after it. The sun is hanging low on the horizon, not setting yet, just threatening to, a thick, heavy orange disk, pressing itself against the flat edge of the world, turning the sky above it into something almost painfully beautiful. Orange at the bottom, then pink, then a deepening violet that fades, at the very top, into the first pale suggestion of night. You have been watching sunsets like this for 6 weeks now. Every evening the same enormous sky, the same colors, the same slow, unhurried darkening. In Missouri, you barely noticed sunsets. There were always trees in the way, buildings, the clutter of a life lived in one place. Out here, there is nothing in the way. The sky goes all the way down to the ground in every direction. You have never felt so exposed. You have never felt so small. You have never seen anything so beautiful. You are holding the reins loosely in your hands. 2 oxen pull the wagon ahead of you. Their pace is slow and steady. It has been slow and steady for 6 weeks. They do not hurry. They do not slow. They simply walk one heavy step after another, as if the distance means nothing to them, as if they have always been walking and will always be walking and the destination is beside the point. The wagon creaks behind you, creaks constantly. The wooden wheels with their iron rims find every rut and stone in the trail, and the wagon announces each one with a groan or a clatter that you have long since stopped hearing as separate sounds and now hear only as the general voice of the journey. Behind your wagon, other wagons follow. You are not traveling alone. No one travels alone on the Oregon Trail. Alone means vulnerable. Alone means dead, sometimes. Your wagon train consists of 20 families, roughly 100 people in total. You have been traveling together since independence, Missouri. 6 weeks ago you were strangers. Now you know each other's names, each other's children, each other's habits and complaints and quiet fears. You know which families argue in the evenings, which ones sing, which ones pray together before bed. You know whose oxen are the strongest and whose wagon will has been wobbling for 2 weeks and whose husband drinks too much from the whiskey flask he thinks no one knows about. 100 people, 20 wagons, moving west together through the enormous American silence. At the front of the train, Colonel Thompson raises his hand. Stop. One by one, the wagons slow and halt. The oxen drop their heads gratefully. The creaking stops. The dust, which has been rising in a long pale cloud behind the train all day, slowly begins to settle. Thompson rides back along the line of wagons. He is a lean, weathered man in his 50s. He has made this journey 4 times. 4 times across 2,000 miles of open country. When he speaks, everyone listens. Not because he demands it, but because he has earned it. We camp here, he says. You look around. A small creek runs nearby. Just a thin thread of water, barely visible through the grass. But it is there, and water out here is everything. The ground is flat and open. No trees to hide behind. No ravines or rises where something could approach unseen. Good sight lines in every direction. Thompson has chosen well. He always chooses well. You bring your wagon to a stop. You set the brake. You climb down. Your feet touch the ground and something in you exhales. You have been sitting for 12 hours. Not lazily, not comfortably. Sitting the way you sit when the ground beneath you is never quite still. When every mile of trail sends a new jolt up through the wagon boards and into your spine. 12 hours of that. Your back aches. Your hips ache. Your shoulders ache from holding the reins against the gentle, constant pull of the oxen. You stretch as you climb down from the wagon. Your knees complain. You ignore them. First things first. The oxen. You unhitch them from the wagon. The leather harnesses are stiff with sweat and dust. You work the buckles carefully. Your hands know this task by now. In Missouri, you fumbled with these buckles. You needed 10 minutes and your wife's help. Now you do it in 2. When the harnesses come free, the oxen shake themselves. A long, slow, full-body shudder that seems to travel from their horns to their tails. Then they lower their heads to the grass and begin to eat. You watch them for a moment. These animals, these 2 enormous, patient, unremarkable animals on whom everything depends. Without them, the wagon does not move. Without the wagon, the supplies do not move. Without the supplies, none of you survive the journey. You have started to feel something for them that you did not expect to feel. Not quite affection, not quite gratitude, something quieter than both, a kind of respect. Your wife climbs down from the back of the wagon. She is carrying your youngest, a girl of 4, asleep against her shoulder with the absolute, trusting abandon that only very young children can manage. Your son, who is 7, jumps down behind her. He has been awake all afternoon, watching the planes go by, asking questions you did not always have answers to. He looks tired now, but not the kind of tired that wants to sleep, the kind that still wants to do things. Can I help with the fire? He asks. Find the fuel first. You tell him. He looks around. There are no trees. There are no logs. There is no wood of any kind as far as the eye can see. This was one of the first things you learned on the trail. Wood is a luxury of the East. Out here on the plains, you burn what the plains provide. Your son has already learned what that means. He spots the first one almost immediately, a dried buffalo chip, flattened and pale in the grass. He picks it up without hesitation and tucks it under his arm. 6 weeks ago, he would have refused to touch it. You both would have. Now he collects them with the efficiency of someone who has long since made his peace with the way things are out here. Your wife builds the fire ring, a circle of stones carefully placed. She has done this every evening for 40 days. Her hands are faster than yours at it now. She places the dried chips inside the ring, a little dry grass underneath. She strikes a match. The grass catches. The chips begin to smoke. Then slowly they catch too. Not a dramatic fire. Not the kind of fire you would build back home with split logs and a good iron grate. Just a small, low, steady flame. Blue at the edges. Orange at the center. Sending a thin thread of smoke straight up into the cooling evening air. But it is warm. And out here, warm is everything. You take the bucket and walk to the creek. It is only about 100 yards from camp, but the walk feels good. Your legs are stiff from the wagon. You stretch them against the resistance of the grass, which is thick and dry and reaches your knees. The creek is small, barely a creek really, more of a trickle. It runs quietly through a shallow cut in the ground, clear over a sandy bottom, moving slowly west. You stand at the edge of it for a moment, just looking at it. You did not used to look at water this way. Back in Missouri, water came from a well. You lowered the bucket, you raised it, you drank. You never thought about it. Water was simply there, the way air was there, the way morning was there. Things you did not notice because they had never been absent. 2 weeks ago, you went 2 full days without finding water. The oxen began to slow. Their heads dropped lower than usual. The children stopped asking questions. Your father sat in the back of the wagon, with his eyes closed, not sleeping, just conserving. You remember the feeling of your own mouth, the way the inside of your cheeks seemed to stick to your teeth. The way swallowing became something you were aware of, something that required effort, something that reminded you, with every attempt, that something necessary was missing. You found the water eventually, a small pond, green at the edges, still and silty. Not good water, but water. You have not taken water for granted since. You fill the bucket now. Moving water is safer. The current carries away the worst of what settles, the bacteria and the runoff and the things you do not want to think about too closely. You fill the wooden casks next. 2 of them strapped to the side of the wagon. Each holds about 12 gallons. Together they can carry your family through 5 or 6 days of careful use. Careful is the word. Every cup measured. Every use considered. Nothing wasted. Nothing. You carry the full bucket back toward camp. It is heavy. Your arms feel it. But you carry it carefully, watching the surface of the water the way you would watch something precious, which is exactly what it is. Your wife is cooking. You smell it before you see the fire, salt pork and beans. Simple food over an open flame at the end of a long day on the trail. It is not complicated. Not subtle, but after 12 hours of dust, heat, and endless plains, it feels like the best smell in the world. You sit near the fire. Its warmth reaches your face as the evening air begins to cool. Out here, the temperature drops quickly once the sun goes. By midnight, it will be cold. By dawn, colder. But for now, inside the circle of firelight, there is warmth. Your daughter is awake, sitting close to the flames with her knees pulled to her chest, watching them with quiet fascination. She does not speak. Your son sits across from her, talking softly with the boy from the next wagon. You cannot hear the words, only the serious, content tone of something very important to them. Your father sits a little apart, lighting his pipe with slow, practiced movements. He looks out over the darkening plains, his face unreadable. You wonder if he is thinking of Missouri, the home he left behind, or your mother's grave he will never visit again. You do not ask. Some things belong to silence. Your wife hands you a tin plate, along with a piece of hard biscuit on the side. Hardtack. Dense, dry, and flavorless, built to last for months without spoiling. You have eaten more of it in the past 6 weeks than in all your life before. You eat anyway. You eat gratefully. Out here, food is never taken for granted. You eat slowly. The fire crackles. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the wagons, coyote calls, a thin, wavering sound, rising and falling, then silence. How far today? Your son calls over from where he sits. 20 miles, you say. Maybe 22. He nods, as if this is information he needs to process seriously. In some ways it is. He has been keeping track. He has a small notebook, given to him by your wife before you left, and every evening he writes down the day's miles, in careful, slightly crooked letters. 20 miles today, 22 yesterday, some days 10. Some days, when the trail is good and the animals are strong, 25. You are somewhere past the halfway point now, more behind you than ahead. That thought is both comforting and exhausting. Let us pause here for a moment. Let us think about where you are and what you are part of. Between 1840 and 1870, approximately 400,000 Americans made this journey. 400,000 people, men, women, children, infants, old people who knew they might not survive the journey, and came anyway, young people who had never been more than 50 miles from home, and suddenly found themselves standing on the edge of a continent. They came for land. The government was offering it. The Donation Land Claim Act promised 160 acres of Oregon territory to any family willing to settle it. 160 acres. In the eastern states, that kind of land would make a man wealthy. Out here, it was simply waiting, empty and green and impossibly abundant, waiting for someone to come and claim it. They came for a fresh start. Failed farms, failed businesses, debts that could not be repaid, marriages that needed distance from wherever they had gone wrong, lives that had accumulated too much of the wrong kind of weight. The trail offered something rare and powerful, the chance to leave it all behind, to arrive somewhere new, as simply a person, without history, without reputation, without the accumulated weight of everything that had not worked out. They came because they were young, and young people, in every era, are drawn toward the horizon, and so they came. 400,000 of them, an endless stream of wagons and oxen and hope, moving west through the dust. But the trail was not kind. 1 in 10 travelers died on the journey, not in battle, not from Sioux arrows or grizzly attacks, though those dangers existed. They died of cholera, contracted from contaminated water, could kill a person in hours. A man healthy at breakfast could be dead by supper. Entire families were wiped out, entire sections of the train decimated. Within days, they died of accidents, wagons overturning on steep descents, people falling beneath wheels, children wandering too close to river crossings, firearms discharging by accident. In the cramped, jolting interiors of wagons, they died of simple exhaustion, of cold, of hunger, of the slow, grinding accumulation of hardship that wears a body down, past the point of recovery. Along the trail, graves appear with regularity. Simple wooden crosses, piles of stones, some with names carved into them, some with only a date, some with nothing at all, just a mound of disturbed earth that says, without words, that someone passed this way and did not continue. You have seen these graves. You pass them almost every day. You try not to count them. You try not to think about who they were, what they left behind, how far they had come before the trail took them. You try not to think about them at all, but you think about them anyway. The children are asleep. Your daughter went first, folding into sleep the way small children do, suddenly and completely, between one moment and the next. One moment she was watching the fire, the next she was gone, her head heavy on your wife's arm, her breathing slow and even. Your son lasted longer. He always lasts longer. He lay in the wagon for a while, looking up through the canvas opening at the stars, asking questions in a voice that grew slower and quieter with each one, until the questions stopped entirely, and his breathing deepened, and that was that. Your father went to his bedroll, without ceremony or conversation. He is always asleep within minutes. This is one of the advantages of age. He told you once, by the time you are my age, sleep is not something you chase. It simply arrives. Your wife is in the wagon with the children. She is exhausted. She is always exhausted. She does not complain about it. She never complains about anything, which sometimes worries you more than complaint would. But tonight, before she climbed in, she put her hand on your arm and held it there for a moment. She did not say anything. She did not need to. You are on watch tonight. Every night, the men of the train take turns, 2 or 3 of them, rotating through 2-hour shifts, walking the perimeter of the camp, while everyone else sleeps. You take your rifle, a Springfield flintlock, old but reliable. You have had it for 12 years. It has never failed you. You load it now, measuring the powder carefully, ramming the ball home, setting the flint. You check the pan. You check it again. Then you step away from the fire. The darkness receives you immediately. After the firelight, the night seems absolute. You stand still, letting your eyes adjust. Slowly, slowly, the darkness becomes less dark. The shapes of wagons emerge. The line of the horizon, the enormous bowl of the sky above, crowded with more stars than you have ever seen in your life. No city glow to wash them out, no smoke to obscure them, just stars. From horizon to horizon, the Milky Way, a broad pale river, running east to west, directly overhead. You stand and look at it for a long moment. You have been looking at this sky every night for 6 weeks, and it has not become ordinary. You do not think it ever will. You begin to walk, slow, quiet circuits of the camp. Your boots make almost no sound in the grass. You listen as you walk. Coyote, somewhere to the north. The low breath of the oxen in the grass. The creak of a wagon settling on its wheels. The wind, which out here never fully stops, moving through the grass with a sound. Like the sea. Nothing wrong. Nothing out of place. You are somewhere in the middle of Nebraska, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the 19th century, and everything is quiet. The stars turn slowly overhead. The fire burns low behind you. The camp sleeps, and you walk. As you walk, your mind moves through the dangers, the way it does every night on watch, not with panic, not with dread, just with the careful, methodical attention of someone who has learned that awareness is the only real protection. Out here, the Sioux are the largest presence on these plains. Their territory stretches across hundreds of miles. Of the land you are crossing, this is their home, has been their home, for longer than the United States has existed. You have been told to be afraid of them. Stories circulate among the wagon trains. Raids, attacks, arrows in the night. But the reality you have found is more complicated. Most of the interactions along the trail are not violence. They are trade. Tribes approach the wagons and offer horses food, guidance, in exchange for blankets, tools, sugar, tobacco. Exchanges conducted with the careful, mutual wariness of people who are not sure how much to trust each other, but who understand that trust, or its appearance, is more useful than conflict. You have participated in 3 of these exchanges. You traded a wool blanket and a bag of sugar for directions to a reliable water source. That saved your train 2 days of searching. That trade may have saved lives. But not all encounters are peaceful. Some trains have been attacked. Some have lost livestock. Some have lost people. The danger is real. You do not underestimate it. You simply try to meet it with respect, rather than fear. Beyond the human dangers, there are the animals. Grizzly bears move through this country. You have seen the signs of them. Tracks in the mud near creek beds. Scratch marks high on tree trunks. At the edge of the cottonwood groves along the rivers. Evidence of something large and completely indifferent to your existence. They rarely attack unprovoked, but rarely is not never. Rattlesnakes are the more immediate concern. They are everywhere on the plains, in the grass, under rocks, beside trail markers. The warm flat stones near the creek are exactly the kind of place they like. You watch where you step. You always watch where you step. A snake bite out here is not a minor inconvenience. The nearest doctor is months away. What you have is whatever is in the medicine kit. Some laudanum, some whiskey, some bandages. None of it is a cure. You walk carefully. You listen carefully. Your eyes move constantly through the darkness, looking for the things that do not belong. But tonight there is nothing. Just the plains. Just the stars. Just the wind in the grass. And the slow breathing of 100 sleeping people. And the fire burning itself down to coals. In the center of the circle of wagons. Around 3 in the morning, you hear footsteps in the grass behind you. You turn. It is Miller, your neighbor from the wagon behind yours. A broad-shouldered man from Ohio, with a red beard going gray at the edges, and a way of moving through the world that suggests he has never been surprised by anything. Anything? He says quietly. Nothing, you say. He nods. He takes the rifle you offer him and checks it without being asked. Old habit. Smart habit. Go sleep, he says. Long day tomorrow. There's always a long day tomorrow. He almost smiles. That's the job. You walk back toward your wagon. The camp is quiet around you. 20 wagons in a rough circle. Their white canvas covers pale in the starlight. The fire is low now, just a bed of glowing coals, orange and red, pulsing faintly in the night breeze. You climb into the wagon as quietly as you can. Inside, it smells of your family, wool and wood smoke and the particular warmth of sleeping bodies in a small space. Your daughter is curled against your wife. Your son is on his back. one arm thrown wide, the way he has slept since he was a baby. Your father is a still, dark shape. In the far corner, breathing slowly, you take off your boots. You set your rifle within reach. You lie down on your bedroll. The canvas above you moves gently in the night breeze. A soft, rhythmic sound. Your body aches, your shoulders, your lower back, your feet, which have walked more miles in the last 6 weeks than in the previous year combined. But the ache is familiar now. It has been there every night since Missouri. You have learned to lie down inside it, the way you learn to sleep through any persistent sound, by accepting it rather than fighting it. You close your eyes. The sounds of the camp settle around you, the wind in the canvas, the distant breathing of the oxen, the creak of the wagon on its wheels. As you shift your weight, the very faint, very distant sound of the creek, running quietly in the dark. These are the sounds of the trail at night. They have become, over 40 days, the sounds of safety, the sounds that mean everyone is here, everything is accounted for, the night is doing what nights are supposed to do. Your breathing slows, the ache in your body begins to feel less like pain and more like weight, a heaviness that pins you gently to the earth, to the bedroll, to this moment. You are 40 days west of Missouri. You are somewhere in Nebraska. You are 1,000 miles from where you started, and 1,000 miles from where you are going. You are exactly in the middle of everything, and somehow, right now, that is enough. Sleep comes for you the way it always does out here, not gradually, not with the slow, reluctant unwinding of a mind that has too many thoughts and too few hours, but quickly, completely, the way a candle goes out. One moment you are aware of the canvas above you, of your son's slow breathing beside you, of the distant sound of the creek, and then you are not, and then you are somewhere else. The dream, when it comes, is not of the trail, not of the wagons or the dust or the endless flat plains. It is of water, a river, wide and clear and cold, running over smooth gray stones, trees on both banks, real trees, tall and green and full of sound, birds, wind, leaves moving, the sound of a world that is not dry, not dusty, not cracked with heat. You are standing at the edge of the river. The water is cold around your feet, cold the way water is cold in early morning, with the shock of it, the clarity of it, the way it makes you feel, more awake than you have felt in weeks. On the other bank, there is green land, grass and trees and a valley, opening up behind them, gentle hills, a creek running through, good soil, you can tell even from here, dark and rich and ready, Oregon, not the idea of it, not the word on the map, but the actual place, the actual green, the actual water. You want to cross. You take a step deeper into the river. The current pushes against your legs, cold and insistent, but it does not knock you down. You take another step, and another, the far bank coming closer. Hours pass. The fire outside burns down to nothing. The stars complete their slow rotation overhead. The oxen sleep standing in the grass. The creek runs on. In 100 wagons stretched across 1,000 miles of trail, men and women and children are sleeping, all of them moving west, even in their sleep, all of them carrying the same hope, in the same direction. The night is cold now, very cold. Your breath, if you were awake, would be visible, but you are not awake. You are on the other side of the river, standing in green Oregon grass, with the sound of water all around you, and the feeling, certain and complete, that you are almost there. Dawn comes fast on the plains, not slowly the way it comes in cities, where buildings and streets fill gradually with gray light, and the world reassembles itself piece by piece. Out here, the horizon is everywhere, and when the sun clears it, it is sudden. One moment, darkness. The next, light. Thompson's whistle cuts through the camp. At 5 o'clock exactly. He is never late. He is never early. He is the most reliable thing on the trail. Around you, the camp stirs. The sounds of it are familiar now. Canvas moving. Boots on dry ground. The low voices of people who are not yet fully awake, but know what has to be done, and are beginning to do it. You open your eyes. The canvas above you is already pale with morning light. Your daughter is still asleep, pressed warm against your side. Your son is awake, lying on his back, staring at the canvas ceiling, with the particular stillness of a child, whose mind has already started, but whose body has not yet received the news. You sit up, your back, your shoulders, all of it exactly as sore as it was when you lay down. Sleep restores many things. It does not restore this. This is the soreness of the trail, and it will be with you every morning until Missouri or Oregon, one or the other. You dress quickly, boots first, then coat. The morning air, when you climb out of the wagon, is cold enough to see your breath. The plains in the early morning have a quality that the afternoon never has. A stillness, clarity. The light is flat and clean, coming in low from the east, turning the grass gold, and casting long shadows west. Your wife is already at the fire. She built it back up from the coals before you woke, and a pot of coffee is already heating. Coffee, or what passes for coffee out here. Ground chicory root, bitter and strong. Nothing like the coffee you had at home, but warm and warming, and that is enough. She hands you a cup. You wrap your hands around it. Sleep? She asks. Some, you say. She nods. She knows what some means. She knows what all of this means. You drink the coffee. The camp assembles itself around you. Animals unhobbled and hitched. Wagons packed and checked. Children fed their breakfast of hardtack and dried meat. Complaints ignored. The business of departure conducted with the quiet efficiency of people who have done this 40 mornings in a row. Thompson rides down the line. Ready in 10 minutes, he calls. 10 minutes. You finish the coffee. You check the harnesses. You look at your wife, who is lifting your daughter onto the wagon seat, who is telling your son to put on his hat, who is doing 100 small things, with the calm, steady competence that you have loved about her since the day you met her. You climb up onto the wagon seat. You take the reins. Ahead of you, the plains stretch west, gold and flat and enormous in the morning light. The trail cuts through them, faint and brown, just visible enough to follow. 2,000 miles, 40 days walked, 90 to go, maybe 100. Oregon. You click to the oxen. They lean into the harness. The wagon creaks forward, and you go. Because sometimes, moving forward is all there is. One step, 1 mile, 1 day. You do not think about Oregon right now. You do not think about the mountains ahead, or the river crossings, or the passes that will need to be made before the first snow. You think about the trail in front of you. Just the trail. Just the next mile. Just the next step of the oxen. Just the next rut in the road. And the creak of the wheel. And the sound of the grass. Moving in the morning wind. This is what the trail teaches. Not courage. Not endurance. Though it teaches those too. But presence. The ability to be here. In this moment. On this stretch of trail. With these people. With the sky. With this particular quality of morning light. That will never exist again. Not exactly like this. Not in this combination. The pioneers who made this journey were not extraordinary people. They were farmers and merchants and teachers, and young couples starting out, and old men who had one more thing to see. Ordinary people who found themselves inside an extraordinary moment and rose to meet it the only way any of us ever can, by showing up, by taking the next step, by believing without proof that the thing they were walking toward was worth the walking. They were right. Oregon was real. The green valleys and the rich soil, and the clean water and the new beginning, all of it was real. Most of them reached it. Most of them built their farms, and raised their children, and lived out their lives in the place they had walked 2,000 miles to find. And the ones who did not reach it, the ones left in those unmarked graves, along the side of the trail, they were part of it too. Every foot of trail was walked on the bones of someone's hope. Every mile was paid for, in ways that did not appear in any ledger. Now let us return. You are lying in a comfortable bed, in a warm room. Outside, the night is whatever it is, cold, perhaps, or raining, or clear, but you are inside it, protected from it, warm. You have running water. You have a kitchen with food in it. You have a bed that does not move, that does not creak over rutted ground, that does not require you to be up before dawn, and hitched and moving, before the dew has left the grass. The Oregon pioneers would not have believed your life, the stillness of it, the warmth, the ease of a Tuesday evening, when nothing is required of you, except to rest. They would have considered it something close to paradise. Perhaps, tonight, you can consider it that too. Hold the people you love a little closer tonight, not because something terrible is coming, but because they are here, because you are here, because this moment, this warm and quiet and ordinary moment, is exactly the kind of moment that 2,000 miles of trail is walked toward. A roof, a fire, the people you love, sleeping safely nearby. This is what they were walking to. This is what they hoped for. This is enough. This is everything. Now you can sleep. Let the Oregon Trail drift slowly from your mind. The dust and the heat and the endless plains. The creak of the wagon wheels. The sound of the oxen in the morning. The enormous, star-crowded sky. Over a sleeping camp. In the middle of Nebraska. Let it settle into the quiet back rooms of memory. A place you can return to when you need to remember what forward looks like, what hope feels like, when it has no guarantee, what it means to keep moving, when the destination is still, months and mountains away. When you wake tomorrow, the sun will rise, as it rose over the Oregon Trail, as it rose over the wagons and the dust and the graves, and the green dreams of 400,000 people, pointing themselves west, and perhaps just for a moment, you will feel it the way they felt it. New, possible, worth everything. Good night. Sleep peacefully. The trail is behind you now. Oregon is ahead, and between them, just this, just the night, just the rest you have earned, just sleep,